It is cold weather season. It is November 1st, so that means the toque is on for the next 5 months. Your girl just lives in her toques during the winter, so you'll be seeing a lot of this or a variation of this because it's all I wear. I hate dealing with my hair in the winter, so this is what's happening. Anyways, this video has nothing to do with toques. It is a more serious video and a video I wanted to kind of share from like within my heart and my feelings. So it's definitely going to be a lot more serious, and I'm hoping it'll make sense as much as possible because I've written down some notes, but it's definitely not going to be a structured video. It's really just one that I thought would be best just to talk from the heart instead of having more structure to it, because I think that it's just so important to talk about this. I really thought I was alone for quite a while, but now that I've like kind of been working through my body image struggles throughout my pregnancy, I've come to realize a lot of women deal with this. So first of all, if you are sensitive with the topics of pregnancy and body image, maybe just skip this video and go see another video of mine, like whatever, me doing something else. Maybe go check that out because we're gonna be talking a lot about this obviously in this video. But I really wanted to kind of share a lot of what I've been struggling with. I mean, I've shared so much of my health journey, especially here on YouTube, and I've shared a lot of my ups and downs and a lot of how I've dealt with my body image struggles in the past and kind of my journey through that, and this is part of my journey. So I think it's important to share this. Plus, there's so many women who deal with pregnancy or like who are pregnant, who have had a pregnancy, or who might get pregnant in the future. Anything surrounding pregnancy, I know a lot of women can relate to this, but I didn't realize at first how many women could relate to this. I knew some could, but I didn't realize that pretty much every single woman who gets pregnant pretty much deals with this. So I think it's important to talk about. Also, this is me in no way complaining. Please don't get it wrong. I'm not coming on here to complain. I just want to share my journey and what I've been dealing with and my struggles, and that maybe you can relate and some things that I've been working on to overcome these struggles, because right now I'm in the middle of my pregnancy. I just kind of hit that middle mark, and it's been difficult for sure, and I know that it's going to continue to be difficult because as a pregnant woman, your body changes so fast, and it's so hard to kind of mentally deal with that. Like once you get pregnant as a woman, your body pretty much forever changes. It's a completely different thing. Your body also just goes through so much. And if you watch my previous videos, you guys know that I have shared a lot about this. I've shared a lot about my struggles, especially in the first trimester. I did struggle quite a bit, so this is a huge thing also as well. Like a lot of my body image struggles obviously do come from the first trimester, so yeah, there's a lot that's kind of goes into this. So let's just kind of get into this video and just kind of talk about what I've been dealing with and how I've been trying to work around this. So if you watch my videos before, you guys know that I've shared a lot about body image and how I don't believe there's just like one end point. I believe that body image and working with your body image and overcoming body image struggles really is a journey. Your body is obviously forever changing, and there's no ever like end points, because as we age, our body changes all the time. So it's something that we always need to kind of continually work on. And I never really realized how much I would have to really work on it during pregnancy. I knew my body was going to change, and I thought I was prepared for my body to change, but at the end of the day, I really was not ready for my body to change, especially because it changes so rapidly, and it just was something that I just wasn't expecting for it to change so fast and so many things. So if you don't know, if you're not pregnant, you do like gain weight, which I understand. I was expecting that. You're gonna gain a belly, obviously, and I knew that was coming, but there's so many other little factors when it comes to pregnancy. Your boobs are changing, other little things within you are changing, your organs are shifting, so many things are changing, and those little things kind of add up on the changes of your appearance as well. So it is kind of a bit of a struggle, and something that I just wasn't expecting. Like, I thought I was prepared, but I definitely was not as prepared as I thought I was. With my body changing rapidly through this pregnancy, it has definitely been like a roller coaster, but really like big highs and lows. And like, of course, like I have these really big lows, which we're going to be talking about, but I've also had these really big highs because I'm obviously excited because I'm going to be having a child. But there's definitely been really big lows, and a really big low for me was, a huge part was my first trimester. I've discussed in great detail about my first trimester. I don't want to go too much into this because then this video is going to be like super long, but in my first trimester, I dealt with a lot mentally. I was very sick and I ended up gaining a lot of weight. And that really did affect me quite a bit because I was told by everyone that you would be losing a lot of weight, but it was actually quite the opposite for me. So that was something that really just startled me into this kind of reality of how my body's changing and how just it's happening faster than I thought it would. Basically, in the first trimester, a huge reality that I was kind of hit with was that my clothes stopped fitting, that I wasn't able to move the same way that I used to move in the gym, and that I couldn't eat the foods that I enjoyed. And this might sound like super basic because yeah, I knew these things would happen, but until you're in that position, it's really hard to deal with, especially with your clothes not fitting. That is something that happened to me quite early on. Like, my jeans stopped fitting quite fast. I bloated really, really fast, so a lot of my clothes just stopped fitting. And it was hard because in the first trimester into the second trimester, up until like recently, a couple weeks ago, my body didn't look pregnant. And that is just something a lot of people deal with. So when you have this cute little belly or this belly and everyone's all like, oh my God, you're pregnant, like it's a little more exciting. But when you don't have that belly, I'm trying not to sound as shallow as this sounds, but when you don't have that belly and you're just feeling bloated, you're feeling fatter, your clothes don't fit, it affects your mental health so much more than you would think. And I didn't realize how much it would affect me and how much it was affecting me. I was trying to find clothes that fit. I was trying to move in the gym and I couldn't move in the clothes that I wanted to move in, and the clothes aspect was just a huge thing for me. Like, it just really startled me out of this kind of reality that I thought how pregnancy would go. And I feel like I'm just not explaining this very well, but it's really hard when you kind of wear your clothes, you identify in your clothes, and then they stop fitting, or they're not fitting as well, they're fitting tighter, and you kind of just gain this belly where you're just not super pregnant looking, and you start to worry about what other people think. And I actually started to worry, like, oh my God, people are gonna think I'm fat, I'm not worthy. And it was quite like a struggle. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I felt like I had gained tons of weight and I felt fat and I didn't feel like myself. And not that being fat is a bad thing, just this weight gain, this bloatedness, and having my clothes not fit and feeling just like not like I looked pregnant really just affected my body image struggles and really affected how I saw my body. And it put me in such a negative mind space, which I know now a lot of women deal with. And I've seen videos of women being like, oh yeah, I'm pregnant, but like my belly doesn't show, and they make it seem not that bad. But at the end of the day, I've seen that if you dig a little bit deeper, women are really struggling with this. I feel like I'm struggling to kind of get my message across. I don't want people to take this the wrong way, that I'm like, oh my God, I felt so fat my first trimester. Like, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just like, this is what I dealt with. That is how I felt. And at the end of the day, I know a lot of women deal with that, and that is how they feel. And it really does affect your body image. And when the clothes stop fitting, when you don't think that you have like this pregnant belly, like when you get pregnant, you think, oh my God, I'm gonna have this cute little belly. But for like 20 weeks, most women don't have this little pregnant belly. And so it really does affect your mental health. And you're like, in this weird kind of stage is what I'm trying to say. And you're growing this baby, but you don't look pregnant kind of thing. I hope I'm making this very clear, and I'm sure women who have dealt with this or currently dealing with this know what I'm trying to say. Okay, so Blondie's here. Just ignore her. She wants to be held because she's just a big baby. But I've kind of lost my train of thought. I think what I was trying to say is just like, I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way. Gaining a new body during pregnancy and, you know, gaining weight is definitely a struggle and something that I've really struggled with and something that I'm just trying to work with. And during this time, like with all that struggle and body image issue and my body just rapidly changing, I felt like I was losing myself and my identity. When my clothes stopped fitting, when I wasn't able to move the same way I was moving before, when I couldn't eat the foods that I wanted to eat, and I was gaining weight, and I just wasn't able to be who, like my authentic self, like who I was pre-pregnancy, I just felt like I lost myself. And that really altogether just affected my mental health and affected how I saw my body. And when I couldn't do the things that I loved to do before, especially in the first trimester, slowly they're coming back. Especially in the first trimester, it just like, I felt like I wasn't myself. Like I also just, even now, I'm still struggling with that. I still feel like I'm losing myself. I feel like I'm losing my identity because I'm just not the same person I was pre-pregnancy. And especially in the first trimester, it was so hard for me to not be upset with my body, be upset that my body just couldn't perform the same way it did before, be upset that my clothes didn't fit me, be upset that like I felt like I didn't look pregnant to other people. And I mean, you should not be trying to look a certain way for other people, but that's just what I kind of resorted to. I resorted to a lot of my body image struggles pre-pregnancy. So I've dealt with body image things in the past, and a lot of the things I've dealt with that I've thought I've learned to solve, they all came rising back like a freaking train and just kind of slapped me in the face, but just like with pregnancy. So with that, I've been trying to obviously work on things that make me feel good and make me feel like my old self is what I can say. And that's just trying to move the way that I kind of moved before. I mean, it's never going to be the exact same during pregnancy, the way I moved before, obviously. Just trying to fit into new clothes for my changing body, because I was just trying to fit into my old clothes and it just was not working. And especially once my belly popped at 20 weeks, I was not able to fit into a lot of my pants. So just trying to find a new me, because my body's changing and it's time to kind of change with that and start to accept the things of what is happening with my body. Another thing I want to touch on that really affected my body image struggles so far during this pregnancy, and I know I'm gonna be dealing with this throughout my pregnancy as my belly grows, but I never realized how many women would compare their bellies to mine. And I know not every woman does it in a malicious way, I completely understand, but I've had a lot of strangers come up to me and be like, oh yeah, my belly was like way smaller at this stage in pregnancy. And saying that to me really triggered me, and it really affected how I saw my body and affected how I felt about my body. And I was like, oh my god, like I'm growing too fast, my belly's too big, like I need to start losing weight. And I started getting into this really negative mindset, which is not great to do when you're pregnant, obviously, and something that I am working on. I just never realized how many women did this. And I know, like I said, some people don't do this in a malicious way, but some people also don't realize how saying those things can be very triggering to some people and how it can really affect some people. So when I was having a lot of women compare their bodies to mine and feeling like my belly was bigger than theirs at a certain stage, that was just one of the main factors. was making me feel like I was failing my child. And that is something that you also struggle with, is like, now that you're a mother and now that you're pregnant, you want to make sure that you're doing everything in your power that is going to make your baby healthy and happy and strong in your belly, and you're trying to grow it in the best way possible. And the one thing you don't want to do is feel like you're failing your child. And having people compare their bellies to mine and not being the same as most of the people who compared their bellies to mine really affected how I felt as a mother. Like, it made me feel like I just was not being a good enough mother, and that I was gaining weight too fast and it was going to affect my child, and made me feel like a bad mother. I know that's not the case now. I've learned that, and it was just something that I wasn't expecting. And I've really taken the time to kind of reduce the noise and opinions of others. I know women are excited and they want to share these things. I completely understand, because women who are pregnant only understand women who are pregnant. Like, they kind of share this journey together. Like, no man will ever understand what it's like to be pregnant, if you know what I mean. Okay, I had to let Blondie down. My arm was starting to kill me just a little bit, not gonna lie. Anyways, I'm gonna try and stop rambling because I feel like I'm rambling a little bit and this video is getting a little long. But what I'm trying to say is that just like when you're not pregnant and you shouldn't compare your body to other women's, it's the same thing that when you're pregnant, you should not compare your body to another woman's. It's just something that I'm learning to recognize, and that if you're pregnant, you should not do that as well, because it's not going to help your body image, it's not going to help your mental health. And if you're constantly comparing your belly to another woman's belly, it's just going to not make you feel good. And just because your belly grows differently than the woman next to you's belly, we all have different bodies. Our bodies grow differently. So it's the same thing being pregnant or not being pregnant. Your body will grow differently, and you should not compare that to another woman's. We all carry differently, and we all will carry differently. So maybe just don't compare your body to another woman's body. And that is just something that I'm working through, because your belly is just growing so fast, and you can be pregnant at the same week as some other person in your life or person that you know, and you guys can be completely different. So don't let that ever get to you. And I need to remind myself that as well. Just don't let it get to you. Don't compare your body to another woman's, because you're growing a little human, and it's going to be different for every single person, because we all have different little humans growing in us, and we all have different body types. So that is something that I wasn't expecting, but something that I am working through. And the last thing I wanted to kind of touch on, which I touched on in the beginning of this video, is talking about fitness. And fitness is a huge part of my channel, obviously, and a lot changes when you become pregnant. I've always seen myself as an athlete, and when I got pregnant, I had to make a huge adjustment to how I worked out. I knew when getting pregnant, I was gonna have to make adjustments, but I didn't realize how difficult it would be. When I first got pregnant, I pretty much, well, I wasn't working out for a good chunk of the beginning of my pregnancy, and I had extreme bloating at the beginning of my pregnancy, so my abs were very stretched, and I couldn't do a lot of movements that I used to be working on or worked on in the gym. And it's really has been a mental thing for me, because injury, you kind of have like an end goal. You're like, okay, I need to rehab this part of my body back, and then I can start going back to normal. Whereas during pregnancy, you have to make a huge adjustment. You have to start adjusting to your changing body, and your adjustments can change week by week, every couple weeks. Like, it's going to be forever changing throughout your pregnancy. And then after pregnancy, your body has to go through a recovery, and it's a lot longer of a process than you think when you're going through it. And it really did affect how I saw my body, because my body was just not performing how I wish it had been able to perform. So seeing a lot of people in the gym, especially even some pregnant women, they can do a lot that I cannot do. And are they doing it healthily? I don't know. That's not for me to say. But what I'm doing in the gym has been just changing so rapidly as I go through this pregnancy, and it's so hard to not blame your body to that it's not performing how you want it to perform. So going through Metcon, when you're pregnant, you can't get your heart rate up super high that you can't like say a sentence, or you can't do the same movements. Your belly starts to get in the way. You have to start adjusting like your bar path. Like already these things are changing so fast, and like I said, from week to week it can be completely different for you, just depending how your belly grows, obviously. And it's really just like, it's so hard because you think about the future. You think about like, okay, I'm gonna, you know, grow a bigger belly because I'm only halfway through my pregnancy. I'm gonna have to recover from my pregnancy. Am I gonna be able to do the things that I did before? My body's gonna be completely changed after pregnancy. So can I even consider doing those things before? Will I be able to? Will I be able to go back to kind of like what I was doing before? It's like there's so many what ifs, and there's so many like uncertainties that it's really hard to kind of deal with mentally. And I actually had a bit of a breakdown in the gym the other day, and something that I've been really working on is working on my pelvic floor. I've talked a lot about this, and you guys know that, and I really wanted to make sure that my abs stayed pretty good because I wanted to kind of avoid diastasis rectus, and I wanted to keep my core as strong as possible because having a strong core is really essential when it comes to working out, and especially doing CrossFit. So I want to make sure I maintain my core as best as possible, because obviously it is completely changing now during pregnancy. And I had a bit of a breakdown in the gym the other day because I was lying on the floor and I realized that I'm starting to cone, which means like there's some separation in your abs, and your abs start to do this. And I wasn't expecting it. I knew it could happen, but I just didn't think it would happen to me this early on. Well, not early on, but during this part of my pregnancy. I thought it would happen much later on, more later on in my pregnancy. And it started happening, and it just kind of threw me a little bit, and I was like not expecting it, and it really affected me, and it made me kind of have a little bit of a breakdown. Not that it's anything that was serious, but it was just like, it felt like I was working so hard on maintaining my core, and it felt like my body was failing me because now I had a bit of coning happening. Coning obviously can happen to anyone and everyone. I know like Annie Thor's daughter, I think, dealt with coning if I'm not mistaken, but it's just like, it's so hard to kind of deal with this and deal with the changing body. And when working out is something that brings you happiness and is so kind of essential to your life, it really does affect how you see your body. My camera just stopped filming and I lost my train of thought a little bit because I've been rambling for way too long. But I just want to emphasize that, like, I know not everyone can relate to the gym and it being so essential to them that when they're pregnant and their body's changing. I understand not everyone can relate to that, but that is something that has been a huge aspect when it came to my body image struggles with this pregnancy, and something that I'm just currently trying to work through. And I mean, I have my days where it's like up and down, like definitely for sure, just like any other gym day. I have really good gym days and sometimes I have really bad gym days. And on those bad gym days, it's really hard to not blame my body, and it's really hard to not stress about the future and how my body might be completely different, because there's just so many unknowns when it comes to pregnancy, because there's no like clear path. You kind of understand your path during pregnancy. You're like, okay, these things can happen, but you never really know until it finally happens to you. Overall, like, these are just things that I'm struggling with, and of course I'm sharing this with you guys. And these are things that, you know, if you do get pregnant, you might just want to kind of prepare yourself for. I think you can prepare yourself as much as possible, but it is so personal to each and every one of us. We're all going to have little things that we deal with body image wise because our bodies are changing so fast, and it's just something that you should be conscious about when you're pregnant. If you're going to get pregnant, whatever, you will deal with body image struggles. You might think that you're prepared. Maybe you will be prepared, but most of the time it's a lot different than what you expect. And that is okay. And it's something that obviously you can work through, but it's something to just be aware of, which I think is something that is very important. And I think it's important to talk about because on social media, there's a lot of people who love to share the joys of their pregnancy. And of course, there's so many great aspects to pregnancy, but there's also a lot of struggles that comes with pregnancy. And I think it's also important to share that as well. And just to kind of put it out there, because I know a lot of women struggle with this and a lot of women try and bury it. I tried to bury it as much as possible. And some days are better than others, of course, but it's just, I think, an important thing to talk about. I am working through these things, of course, and my body's just changing so much, so it's important that I'm constantly working through these, and this is part of my journey, and that I'm aware of this, and that I'm starting to just not blame my body as much, and just be more forgiving with my body, and be more loving towards my body, because at the end of the day, my body is building a human, which is mind-boggling when you think about it, and it's so important to just not let the pressures of society of being a woman get onto you because you're pregnant, because we're just growing so differently and there's so many things happening that you don't need that extra burden on you, and you should just try and enjoy your pregnancy as much as possible, because it is a short period of your life and it changes so rapidly. So it's just so important to kind of like remember that you're beautiful, you're growing a human, and at the end of the day, things will be okay, and that your body's doing the best that it can do to grow this baby, and you're doing the best that you can do to grow this baby. And I need to remind myself that too as well sometimes. Also, I just quickly want to say that I'm super grateful for David. He has been a huge support system throughout this pregnancy. He has been really, really nice and helping me a lot with my body image struggles. So he's just getting to me a little bit, but I'm just grateful for him and just his generosity and his just niceness during this pregnancy. So I had to put that in there, because having a supportive partner is also something that really does help and is kind of essential to with your forever changing body. So that's pretty much what I've been going through, and if anyone can relate to this, I hope that this helps you, or maybe this gives you some motivation or inspiration. It's not an easy journey, that is for sure, and I feel like it gets washed over that it's not an easy journey, and that it's okay to struggle with these things, and we just need to remind ourselves those things. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up, and let me know if you guys have struggled with anything or anything like that. Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to be unstoppable, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Summer days burn me out, love just brings me down. Cold inside like winter leaves that slowly leave the ground. Hey, you come back, I wanna give you a chance. Love me like you used to, so we can learn again. The skin is getting brown, baby, drinking.